and somebody picked me up. I don't know who it was. Could have been one of the guys, Barry Bentley, or one of the guys. And he said to me, "You're supposed to put the ball down." I said, "Well, I didn't know. Nobody told me."
I don't know how much of this is going to make air, but Pat Downey, welcome to Throwing Stones. How are you?
Jeremy, thanks very much. Listen, I have Paul O'Brien, solicitor, standby in case I need him, because I could end up in a bad way. But listen, a bit of a cliche, I suppose, but for me, this is a real honour, because I am not your conventional rugby player as such. So being on with the likes of KV and John, the other lads, it's unusual, and it's an honour for me. It really is.
Good stuff. Good to hear. Yeah, no, I have to be honest now. You're the first guest I've had on, Pat, where I had to Google statute of limitations before you came on. I just wanted to make sure that what we talk about today is clear and above board. But no, well, look, I guess we'll start. Funnily enough, it's not a rugby background you have. It's gymnastics is your original sport. Tell me a bit about that.
Well, you're going back a long, long way now, Jeremy. I suppose when I was growing up, we was at school, and I was drawn into a gymnastics class that was on in school, and I living. Of course, I came from the north side of Dublin, and for me, it was a way of getting out of lessons rather than anything else. So I joined this gymnastics club, and then I found I was quite good at it. And then, anyway, make a long story short, I went on to national, and we did 2 internationals, and I became All-Ireland champion.
Tell me though, Jim. Like, I think of gymnastics, like, are we talking about like vaults and horses and?
Yeah, well, you see, I have this is a big bugbear of mine, because nowadays you have a guy who only competes on one piece.
Oh,
I mean, when I was competing, we had the floor, the vault, the parallel bars, the high bar, the rings. And like, you had to win on all of those in order to win your competition. You couldn't just go out and do the pommel horse and win pommel horse. So in 1979 I became All-Ireland champion, which was a big thing then, because we weren't good enough to compete at international level. So winning the national level was very good. Now they've done well since then, of course, and they've a national association, and which they didn't have when I was young, But then, so I had a bit of an accident then. We were trying some moves, obviously trying to improve ourselves and do stuff we shouldn't have been doing, I suppose. And during one of the training sessions, I came away from the high bar and ended on a concrete floor, and got up and picked up my gear and said, "Look, we got to go to hospital because I've split my head." But it was a good chance here. What I didn't realise, I had done damage to my neck, and I was in a brace for 3 months, and just very lucky actually I wasn't paralysed. So hence I never played in the front row. That was my excuse. Then I went into coaching and international judging and that sort of thing. And
so you had to stop the gymnastics.
I had to stop gymnastics there, but I suppose after that, then soccer was my big thing, So I went into soccer there, So
you're still able to play sports, just not something that.
Yeah, that was contact. Well, supposedly not contact anyway, But,
Wow. In the late 80s, you'd moved down to Kilcool, and you get an additional job in the rugby club. How did that come about?
Well, my beautiful wife is from Dalkey. And I'll ask her how she married a guy from Coolock. I don't know. A lot of people said she married me to get her money back. I robbed her purse. But anyway, she wouldn't move to Coolock, obviously, and I wasn't really suitable for Dalkey. so we ended up in Kilcool. And then I suppose we were both quite young, and to supplement income or whatever, I would always get an extra job. And luckily enough, I was playing soccer actually in Greystones United with a guy, Pat Kenny was his name. He went on to be sports master in Clongowes Wood, I think, and he saw a lot of good players come through there. But he said to me, "You keep getting sent off in soccer, so why don't you play rugby?" So, but first of all, he got me a job with Vincent in the rugby. Vincent was absolutely amazing. Vincent Bourne anyway, that's a long story too. But I got a job in the bar, and one night they were stuck for players out on the pitch, and I wasn't too busy behind the bar because we're all on the pitch. It was actually the launch of the floodlights on the back
yeah.
pitch, and we played Castle Island, who was famous Moss Keane was supposed to be playing for. Now, I'd never played rugby before in my life. I played 2 games, friendly games, but nothing like this. So Vincent said to me, "We on the wing, all right? So you better go out and play on the wing for the first."
So you're just working in the bar,
I was
and
just working in the bar,
and they just said, "Here, go out onto the pitch." Did you know the rules? Did you know?
No, I had no clue, no idea. So we got on the pitch, and I think it was a guy called Mick Stack. He was a prop, and he thought I was a prop, obviously. So I said, "No, I'm a winger," because I had that stature from the gymnastics. Apparently, once you get that stature from gymnastics, you never lose it. Like, so he was short and stocky. And I said, "No, I'm on the wing." He said, "No, you're sure?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "So you get the ball, you run as fast as you can, and anybody gets in your way, you just take them out of it, and then you go underneath the post and you score." Said, sounds great. Sounds great to me. So, so I had a go at it anyway. And
I was going to stop you there, Pat, because one of the fun things about this for me is I get to dig up all programs and I get to look at match reports from years gone by. And there's one of yours here.
Oh no!
It's 1st of February 1991, and it's that exact match you're talking about. It said Friday the 1st of February saw the first ever floodlit game in the club when a junior select under the captaincy of Joe Devine played against Castle Island of Kerry. Greystones proved the better of the 2 teams with their backline spreading the ball at every opportunity, where guest player Kevin Keys at out half and under-19 centre Fintan Flannelly were outstanding. But the man of the match was Pat Downey. Playing in only his 3rd game of rugby, he scored 2 tries. The first, a great jinking solo run of 20 yards. There you go.
That was actually 4. It was actually 40 yards. You know what I mean? Yeah, I remember that actually because it was John Whiston, the great John Whiston was the PRO, I think, at the club at the time, and he did that report. Yeah, but that was my first game. But it was strange. It was a funny story, Jeremy, because I made the 40-yard run, beat 10 players, went under the post, and I was delighted with myself. Couldn't believe it. And when I looked up, then I saw the opposition team were running to me to where I was, and I was going, what were they? What's wrong with them? Like, you know. And then my own team were running, so I about 28 guys running, Tommy, like big, strong guys, rugby. I don't know what's going on here. So they were screaming at me, but I had no clue what they were doing, and they said, "Put the ball down." I said, "What? Just put the ball down," because I had the ball in my arm. I thought I'd scored. So just before these guys got to me, anyway, I put the ball down. And I scored, but I got hammered. Oh my God. I got about 28 guys lying on top of me. And somebody picked me up. I don't know who it was. Could have been one of the guys, Barry Bentley, or one of the guys. And he said to me, "You're supposed to put the ball down." I said, "Well, I didn't know. Nobody told me." So yeah, a most unconventional rugby player. I knew I'd scored, but I thought I was playing American football or something.
Brilliant. Hey, talk to me a little bit about what the club was like back then. Like, one of the things I find fascinating is the junior section of Greystones, and how it's kind of like a club within a club. And if you haven't been a part of it, you might not really understand it, because you're looking at J8s, 9 teams going out and playing in the weekend, subs, and I guess the guys are having children earlier in those days, and maybe the player age was a little bit older, so there were wives, girlfriends, kids on the sideline. You're seeing that a bit with the J4s now, the newly launched J4s. But I mean, what are your memories of that back then?
I'm glad you said that, because I absolutely loved that time, because, as you say, we were all, I mean, the first, the seconds, and probably the thirds, and maybe the 20s even a bit, were the teams, and they were the most important teams in the club. The rest was social, and we had J6, J7, J8, J9. One of my terrible memories was being a sub on the J8, which wasn't good. Imagine being sub on the J8. But anyway, it was so social. I mean, every weekend we had guys down, as I said, with their families, and they were all young families. And I mean, we were having kids, I suppose, 23, 24 at that stage, So you had wives and kids and families, and then we had so many players, and guys who would turn up just to see the game, probably just to say how they should be on instead of the guy that was on on the pitch. But you always had your kit bag in the back of your car, because so many guys would say, "Oh, I'll play on Saturday," and then they wouldn't turn up, and then you'd be standing on the sideline and you'd get running. But the social end of it was, after the game, the bar was packed. The stands was packed everywhere. You couldn't get into the place. And then on Sunday it was the same, because there'd be a J7 or a J8 game on Sunday, and the guys from Saturday would go and see the guys on Sunday. So it was absolutely unbelievable. The amount of people that you get down there was incredible.
Yeah.
But to have that and to meet those guys, and still now, I mean, now I have friends, and that's it. Rugby, I'll say about rugby, you're friends for life, and it is. But every weekend there was something on. There was either a 21st, or there was a wedding or an engagement, and then eventually there was the christenings, you know.
Yeah.
You know what christenings are like in a rugby club. It can be worse than a Saturday night disco down there, but it was brilliant.
You sent me, before this, you sent me a few pictures. I'll try to get one of them up. And one of them was, Greystones jerseys or whatever, so you could pretty easily identify it. One was a red and black jersey, and I said, "What team? What team was that? Why were you wearing red and black?"
You know what? There were so many players, and there were so many guys who would come down and after been out the night before, and they would still play, and they would enjoy it, and they would go out again the next night, and it was brilliant. But what we found was that we normally had too many players. So Vincent and Charlie O'Reilly, who was Justin's dad, he was one of the selectors. He was just brilliant, and they would bring down people. And sometimes we would have a game midweek, and everybody would be playing. We go, "Oh, this is great! It's just a friendly." But of course, the guys are on the sideline picking teams for the weekend, So what we didn't realize was it was sort of a colours game for the weekend at J6, J7 level, And even then, we were playing our hearts out against each other. And then, as I say, again, socialising in the bar afterwards. I mean, imagine playing with your mates, trying to kill them so you could get on a J6 team. It was ridiculous. But
so
you
played J6, you played J6 possibles v probables.
Possible to be probables during midweek, but we didn't even know. I mean, but then I probably made the J4s or the J5s on Saturday because somebody didn't turn up, But that was the other thing. Down there now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 pitches. I mean, I think we had 6 pitches at the time. We had another 2 pitches up in Farrankelly, and you would go down there, get changed, drive off up to Farrankelly, up where the pitch, when the new house has gone in there.
Yeah.
Play your match there, and then back down to the club, and there'd be 9 teams in the club plus your families and friends, and it was incredible. It really was.
Talk to me a little bit about the referee situation, because I know, obviously, coming from a soccer background, there's a little bit of liberty taken with terms of respect to the referee that's not condoned on the rugby pitch. You've had a few incidences.
I learned the hard way, and I learned, and as well, I was involved in I think we'll probably talk about, but I was involved in the international side with Leinster and with Irish, but referees and me, I mean, soccer, and I learned the very hard way. And the very funny story, we were playing Blackrock up on the back pitch. I think it was J4s, and a lot of people will remember this. And we were winning by 2 points. I think, at the time, and referee gave it a penalty for a high tackle or something. It wasn't a high tackle then. I think it was just destroyed somebody in the halfway line, and he gave a penalty against me. And I said, "What's that for?" So he walked 10 yards of the pitch, and I walked after him anyway. And I said to him, "I don't know what you're giving a penalty for. I didn't touch the guy." So he gave another 10 yards. So the guys were screaming at me like, "Just shut up, will you? Just take it." I said, "Well, hold on a minute." I said, "I didn't do anything." So he took another 10 yards. And I said to him, "Do you know what? Well, actually, I told him once what I thought of him. So he gave another 10 yards. Blackrock kicked the penalty, and they won by a point. So 40 yards given away. It was a very lonely dressing room for me afterwards. I was sitting in the corner, and I tried to apologize, but it didn't go down too well. But I learned the lesson, and since then, of course, I've got some very good friends in the refereeing area, because I got to know them all, But
we'll talk about that in a little bit.
But even if I go out now, and I see them, it's we won't have any guff today from the bagman movie. No, I won't. Absolutely not.
You have quite an interesting record. I'm not sure there's too many players have played for every team in the club in one season.
Yeah.
So work backwards. You J8, you J7, 6. Did it start at J8?
Started J8s, yeah, J7, J6, J5, J4, J3, J2, and then I was doing kit manager. I was doing the medical for the J1s one day. Pat Carney was actually coaching them. I think he was coaching, and I said to him, "God, I'd love to play J1s." Like he said, "Well, you can't play J1s. You're a J7 player." I said, "Yeah, I know, but we might be stuck. Like, just don't pick somebody, or only bring one sub." So whatever happened anyway, I got 10 minutes or 15 minutes with this J1 side, and I was absolutely delighted with myself. But the week after, I had to go to Musgrave Park with the senior team, and I think Reggie may have mentioned this when he was on, in this, that somebody got injured on the way down. Or in the warm up.
Spud, I think made mention it.
Yeah, Spud made a mention, but somebody got injured in the dressing room, and I was getting the medical stuff ready, and they came in and said he can't play. Now, Chris Kelly was a guy, absolutely fabulous winger on the J1s, but he was to play in the final of the J1 Cup the following day. So the rule: if you start with the first team, you can't play the next day. So he had to come on as a sub. So they looked around and they couldn't find any other subs, and in the dressing room, Spud around and he said, "You'll do." And I said, "Sorry?" And he says, "Here's what you're going to do. You're going to go on. You're going to play for the first team for 5 minutes, and then you're going to go down with a hamstring injury, and then Chris can go on," which would negate the rule then for him to be able to play. I said, I can't. There's absolutely no way. Play for the first team. Good God, you must be joking. So anyway, I got the gear on. Somebody gave me gear, and I got the gear on, and then I was pulled into the huddle, and Spud gave Spud giving a speech in a dressing room. Until you've, and a guy of his experience and everything he has, he puts into every single game. Like, it's the same. It doesn't matter what it is. It's a small game or a friendly game, but down in Musgrave Park, I think it was Dolphin we were playing in the senior. It was like All Ireland League Division 1. And in those days, if we were playing, just to digress, we would have seats on scaffolding put up on the back pitch. There could be 3,000 people at a match down in Greystones, like, to see that. But there were 6 internationals playing or whatever. But anyway, in Dolphin Park anyway. So he pulled me into the huddle anyway, and his speech was just, they're going out, and everybody thought they were a crap club, and they were coming out in Dublin, and he said, "And look at this fella," he says he's putting his heart on the line, and he's only the kit manager. And I go, and then I sort of changed, and I said, "Hold on a second, I'm Greystones, I'm going to play now." So we went out onto the pitch anyway, and I could see my opposite number, my winger, and I started going, "Oh my God, give me the ball, give it to me now. Look what's in front of me." And I got annoyed then. I said, "Yeah, give him the ball. Give him not the ball. He's not getting by me. I got him." So the goal kicked off anyway, and we scored a penalty, I think, and and then it's kicked off again, and then Spud starts screaming, "Go down." I said, "What? Go down where?" She said, "Go down injured." I said, "No, I'm not going down injured. I'm going to get him. I'm going to get the guy in front of me." So anyway, I went down injured, and I went off, and then Chris Kelly came on, and I always say, Jeremy, when I left, we were winning. We lost that day. When I went off, we were winning. But of course, I resumed my duties then as the medic kit manager, and I was running on and off the pitch, and I'm strapping up guys, and I went out at one stage, and I went down, and Spud had split his head, split his head. And I said to him, "Spud, you really need to go and get this stitched." And he says, "Put some mud on it." I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, put the mud on it, and it'll stop it from bleeding." So we got a lump of mud, and we caked it into his head. That's the way Spud was, So just as I was leaving, the referee said to me, "How's the hammer?" And I said, "He hasn't got a hammer." I said, "He got a banging head." He said, "No, how's your hammer?" "I know you hurt your hamstring." So he obviously knew that I'd gone on. I was running around the pitch like a lunatic after going down with a serious hamstring injury in the first 5 minutes. But Spud had put a lump of mud on his head in order to stem the blood.
Jeez, that'd be typical of him, yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and that was the sort of player he was,
Yeah.
And his brother Downey. A lot of people don't know. Downey's brother was much the same, obviously called Spud as well, but he was a great guy, and still is, I believe.
Brilliant.
Still is.
You actually had I know that like me, you've no medals to show for your endeavours at Greystones Rugby Club, but you do have 3 Player of the Year awards. You're quite proud of them.
I'm proud of them. I think it's J5, 6, and 7. I think, but I'm proud of them. I think more because they are awarded by your players.
Yeah.
They're players player of the year rather than somebody standing on the sideline going, Jeremy scored 3 tries today, we give him player of the man, but they are, and as I say, for me, as a coming from a soccer background and being in a situation where guys are voting for you on the pitch. I mean, I don't drink or smoke, so I was quite fit, and I was always a player's player. That's the thing. I was like, I mean, even now, I'd rather go and stand and sit in the dressing room with the players than go to dinner somewhere, But I have to say that I was really proud of them because it was from the players. I mean, you know that yourself. If you get a player's player, it's something else,
Yeah, dead right. Something I have to ask you about is you're watching a match one day and a young Mick Hanley got into a spot of bother. You decided to help him out.
Yeah, no. I think I better bring in Paula. I better bring in Paula O'Brien here. I better ring Paula O'Brien. No, do you know what? I suppose in that days, I mean, it was always known as handbags, I mean, and there was always a bit of argy-bargy with the physicality of the game, and
you'd no problem rolling the sleeves up.
No. I mean, but I was up in Farrankelly one day, and I met John was in the buggy with Tina, myself, my wife Tina, and we went up to watch a match, and I stood beside Greg Lynch, and Mick Hanley he's some player, an absolutely phenomenal player. And should have done an awful lot more than he did, but obviously his career. But that's what your career takes over, whatever, and you go. But Mick was we were playing a crowd from Tala, I think. But I was on the sideline anyway, and Mick made a break with the ball and broke, and he got rid of the ball, and the ball went away over the other side of the pitch. But 3 or 4 of the forwards from Tala stayed and started to give him a bit of a hiding, and there was no ball, and we were on a sideline. Trying to make some sort of an influence on them to stop what we're doing, but they didn't anyway. So I decided I would go onto the pitch and just ask them nicely to stop what they were doing. So I had to stop the first fella, and then I stopped the second fella, and then I asked the third fella to stop, and then I asked the fourth fella to stop, because I mean I'm from the north side, so. But the referee stopped the game, and he was the other side, and then all the players came over and they all got involved and everything. But poor Mick Hanley had taken quite a beating, and it was quite vicious. But so I was walking back to where I was standing, and Greg Lynch had said to me, you shouldn't have really gone on the pitch, but I said, if you hadn't, he probably would have been in. And I said, yeah, we would have been in serious. So you would have gone to hospital, if you hadn't. So I heard the whistle blowing 3 or 4 times, and I turned around, and I got a red card. So I sort of remonstrated with the referee as usual. You can't send me off. So he said, no, get off the pitch. I said, okay. So he obviously hadn't seen what had happened, so. But so I had to walk across the pitch from one side right across to the other with my wife in the buggy, and embarrassment with my head in my chin. Haven't been sent off as a spectator.
You got a ban for that, didn't you?
I did. Well, I didn't. Not officially, because in fairness, the great Ken Ging, an absolute legend of a man, went to a disciplinary on my behalf. I didn't even have to go, but he said that had not somebody not intervened, it could have been quite serious. So they had to look. Your match was served, banned or whatever. So I didn't. But anyway.
Did you talk to Mick about it afterwards?
I did. Well, you know what? It was the first person I spoke to was his mother. His mother came to me afterwards and said that, she was so happy that somebody had intervened, because if there wasn't, it turned out that the guy that was involved was looking for me in the dressing room afterwards. Apparently, he wanted to see me. But it turned out he was an undercover detective from Tala, and he wanted to see who I was. Yeah, so.
No way.
He wanted to get his own back. Yeah. So anyway, Ken Ging told him that I'd walked in off the street, nobody knew who I was, and I was just passing by. So
just passing by Farrankelly.
That's rugby, yeah. And I got a yellow card, I got a red card. So.
Yes.
How
did you get involved in being a bin bagman? Or what's the correct terminology? Is it medic?
Well, no, you see, there's so many names, I mean, I suppose it's medic, it's kitman, but you see, the kitman at the time was the great sheriff. John Redmond was great sheriff and still around, but sheriff was the kitman, and then John Whiston was the medic as such. So it's wrapping and strapping and rubbing, massage, and stitching up if you have to, with paper stitches or whatever. So Whizzer moved on to management then, I think, at that stage. He moved to management. So I with Brendan was leaving at that stage. He was too much involved with something else. So I moved into the first aid part of it, So then I went out and did a couple of courses as well on soft tissue massage and that sort of thing. So yeah, I was 17 years doing it then. After that, with the first thing, which was incredible, So
who got you involved first in it?
It would have been Brendan. Brendan said to me,
Okay.
Brendan Cuddy, the doc said to me that you'll probably be good at this, because you're big and strong, and lads won't want you to go out onto the pitch then and hurt them if they go down easy, So they're always saying that you have all these little physios running out onto the pitch. These guys, and when they see me coming, they all jump up off the ground and say, "It's okay, grand."
But you travelled up and down the country, so you did 17 years. Would that be every home and away game for the first?
Every home and away game, and then that would probably be Saturday, and then I'd be playing on the Sunday. I play J4, J5 on the Sunday, or J6, So, wow. And Tuesday and Thursday training as well. So,
do you have any memorable moments in that role?
Yeah. Well, obviously the KV one was probably the biggest one.
Tell me a bit about that one.
That was, I think KV may have mentioned it as well.
Yeah.
We were playing, I think it was Wesley, or it was Bective on the back pitch there, and KV was an incredible player at 12, 13 or whatever. He was so strong. And when he hits you, if KV hits you, he hits you. But anyway, he was, I wasn't too busy that day, I remember, because we were doing well. But anyway, this centre ran up and KV was going forward, and this guy tried to tackle him, and KV just ran over him, just literally ran over him, and he stayed on the ground. But this girl, anyway, physio, ran out to him, and I was watching. I was going, "Oh, he doesn't look as if he's moving," and he wasn't moving. So when she got to him, she knelt down beside him, and I was going, "Okay, fine." And normally, if the opposition guy goes down on my side and he's beside me and he's hurt badly, and I'm a physio, or whatever, I wouldn't call him a physio, sorry. If I was the first aid, I'd certainly try and help him. But she got up immediately and she ran away from him. I thought he was dead. I really thought he was dead. He hadn't moved, and so she ran away from him. He was on his own. The guys were gathered around him, so I ran out to him anyway, and he was in shock, and he was that's why he wasn't moving. He was still alive anyway, which was good. But what had happened was that KV had hit him so hard that his whole patella, his kneecap, had come out and around, and it was at the side of his knee. And it looked really funny, actually. But she ran. I assume she was gone for help. So one of the first things you do then is you throw a towel over it so they can't see it. Because if you can see something, if you see a hole in your leg, mentally you're gone. But if you can't see it and it's hurting, you just think it might be hurt. But I said to him, "You're going to be okay." I said, "You got a bit of a dislocation, but you're going to be fine." So he just looked at me and he said to me, "Who are you?" And I said, "Well, I'm the medic from the other side." I said, "But you're going to be okay." So they strapped him up and took away him now. But I thought he was dead. I really thought he was dead. So I went to her afterwards and I said to her, "He's gone. He's dislocated his knee. He's gone." I said, "Are you a physio?" She was actually a physio. And I said, "Yeah." And I said to her, "Where did you go?" And she said, "I couldn't look at that." So I said, "Okay, well, I have no qualifications or anything like you have, but you should have done something for him, But KV hit him so hard. I thought he was dead. I really thought he was dead. That's one of the strangest things.
There was another one we spoke about before we recorded this. Up on the back pitch, Greystones St. Mary's. That was a scary one. Why don't you tell us?
That was even scarier because it was Young Dempsey, I think his name was.
Owen Dempsey,
yeah. Myself and Paul Lennon, actually, Paul, another great guy. Everybody knows Paul, but before I played with Paul a couple of times as well. He's a tough guy, but Paul's a qualified fireman as well. So we were actually watching a pitch watching a match on one pitch, and some guy came running to us and said, "It was you two, you got to come and help." And I said, "Well, we're watching a match." So he said, No. He said, this guy, you really got to come and help. So I said, "Is he injured?" And he said, "Yeah." So he really is. So we went anyway. Two of us ran down to the back pitch there, and they had gathered around the guy. So we got in and we cleared the guy, and there was a young guy on the ground, young Dempsey. And what had happened was he'd taken a concussion, and he'd taken a hit, and he had a concussion. But once he hit the ground, then he started having a seizure, while he was in concussion. Now, it's one of the most dangerous things you can do. I mean, whatever about being in concussion. I mean, then he had some sort of seizure as well, which is quite serious and not something I would be qualified to deal with. But I mean, Paul had a better idea, in fairness to him, as I did. But the two of us stayed with him, turned him on his side. We got him into a group position. We tried to stop him from swallowing his tongue, which is that term which you don't actually swallow your tongue. You know that it just flaps back and it blocks the airway. It doesn't. You don't actually swallow your tongue, as far as you know. It just relaxes it. So it's called swallowing, but it's not. But anyway, so we stayed with him. We turned him over, and the seizure, we had to hold on to him until the seizure stopped, which it did. And then we tried to just keep him warm and calm until the ambulance came. But just before the ambulance came, he woke up, and myself and Paul were holding him on the ground. So he thought we were fighting with him. So he tried to fight the two of us, which obviously wasn't a good idea, Jeremy, trying to fight, you know. But yeah, so we got him away, and I know his family again were very grateful. But I got a lovely letter from Kevin Keys, actually, from the club, and Paul did as well, I believe, just to acknowledge what we've done, which is absolutely, I mean, that is in itself is something that, you know, that rugby culture would give, that they would take the time to go and write to us, which was absolutely fabulous, because I mean, we would have done it anyway. But yeah, that was a strange one, because well, the ambulance man did come to us after, and he said to me, who went out there? Who was, were you touching him? And I said, yeah, well, I said myself and Paul. I said, we have to do something. And he said, no, I don't mean that. He said he's just lucky that you were there, you know.
Wow.
Because
were you frightened?
Yeah, I have to say. I
really?
didn't let them know I was, you know, didn't let them, but yeah, it was quite dodgy, you know, could have been gone, you know. He was back playing a few weeks later.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It was crazy because he was told not to, you know.
How did you get involved in the provincial and international setup then as bagman?
I suppose that was early. It was 2000, 2003. I Colin McEntee, another great club man, was involved. I think he was coaching at the time, and around that time, and well, he was involved with Leinster. Richie Murphy was involved as well, because Richie was there, and they were involved with the Leinster 18s, 19s, and I was the medic kit sort of for the first, and when they went into Leinster to do that for the 18s, 19s, they were asked to find a kitman course. So they said they couldn't find anyone other than me. No, they said that they thought I would be perfect for it. So they asked me would I join them and go. So I did, and that was Leinster 18s, 19s, 20s. I was with them, and then I was with Collie Mac and Gervin Dempsey in the Leinster A, and then I think about 12 years ago, Hendrik Kruger from the Irish Few rang me and said one day, I believe you're doing well with Leinster. He says, the Irish 19s are looking for kitman. But before that, Greg Lynch had been involved. Greg Lynch had been involved with the Irish 18s, and Greg was the first one. Greg asked me to do the 18s with him one time when he was coaching them. So that's really how I started into it. Like, and I've been doing that now since then. So this is my 13th year now at the Irish.
You're still doing it now, yeah?
Yeah, and as I say, it was cancelled for the last 2 years. But for the Irish under 19s, people don't really know about the Irish 19s. What they do is they take them straight after Senior Cup, and they go 3 or 4 camps, and then every year they play the French under 19s. But every second year is away in France, which means I get a trip away every 2 years. But it's called a development squad for the Irish 20s. So all of the Irish 20s now that you see would have come through the Irish 19s. And then most of the Irish senior team now would have come in through 20s and 19s. There's very few of them who hadn't come to that. So most of them I would know personally, like, you know, from 19s straight to where they are now, you know. I mean, the latest one is a guy called Tom O'Toole, who was playing for Ulster now, he's a prop. Or Andrew Porter came through the 19s, you know. And I was in France with Andrew, and we had to try and keep him in the club a couple of times, you know. But he's the kit man. I mean, the kit man, and in that situation, I'm kit man. I'm not medical, because they are professionally, like, they have physio and they have doctors and they have, you know, nutritionists, and so I'm actually just a kit man for the Irish 19, which is great because I just get to look after the kit and that sort of thing, you know. So,
but isn't it amazing where rugby can bring you? Because, you know, you started working in the door in Vincent, and now here you are, and you're the Irish 19s kit man. Like, kind of speaks to the culture of the sport and Greystones as well.
Yeah, it's incredible. But it all comes from Greystones, because that's where it all started for me at Jeremy, and happy to do that, to say that it was Greystones really, But as I say, coming from my background, I shouldn't be anywhere near it, like,
You touched on there going on trips away to France, but you've been on a few trips with the rugby club as well with Greystones. J4 Santander Beach Rugby Tournament. That's an unusual one. Tell me about that.
Absolutely hilarious. I mean, there's a guy in the club, Rodolfo.
Oh, yeah.
Rodolfo de Sonero. He's a Spanish guy who came over to live here, and he is the funniest guy ever. He's one of the guys. But we had decided we'd go to Galway or we'd go to Cork or whatever. But there was a beach tournament in Santander, beach rugby, 7-a-side beach rugby. So hard to play. Like, it was just incredible. You're playing on sand and you're playing rugby.
Yeah.
Oh, can't run. But not only you can't run, when you get tackled, your face in the sand, So Rodolfo decided, and Vincent and a few of the other guys came up at the centre, we'd go away and play this tournament in Santander, and it was just hilarious. It was a trip of a lifetime, really, because it was funny from the start to finish, And I played with a guy called Richie Sudren, who came with us. He used to play first team as well, but it's just like that. Guy's dropping down playing, but he came away with, and we were starting to stay away, and we'd go for walks, and all the boys would be in the bar, myself and Richie would go off and do the cultural bit, But when we turned up for the final, we made the final. There was 2 teams who made the final on Sunday morning. None of our team turned up because they were all hungover. They were outside in bed. You walk over in the final.
Oh, no.
The other team went and won runners up or something. I think, but a great weekend, and it was just phenomenal weekend.
Cape Town 2003.
Cape Town 2003. I hadn't been, as I said, I probably hadn't been in the club an awful long time, and John Whiston and management team and all that sort of thing decided that the first team would be going to Cape Town, and the first team would play 3 games. We were out there, and I think there were 18 players. There weren't that many players, 18 players, but I think there were 30 Blazers.
Oh yeah.
So there was more Blazers anyway. But again, I finding myself in Cape Town, South Africa, like, with a group of guys. I mean, Liam Murphy and Mark Phelan and people like that. And guys like that, you would never think that I would have anything in common with. Like, a great time, and just a great win, and great to see rugby out there. Great to see rugby, see the first team playing and holding their own against South African teams. It's great,
Want to ask you about New York, 1998.
New York, the Golden Oldies.
Yeah.
Golden Oldies. I was a Golden Oldie at 37, so I think I might have been one of the youngest on the pitch, But again, we had John Whiston, Donald Gannon, the great Donald Gannon, who played second row, my God. Liam Short, Niall Friend, Skin O'Hagan. It flashes out half I've ever said now in my life. Skin, what an out half. Unbelievable. Pat Carney was with us. Paul O'Brien, it was Cavey's dad. And Pat Ryan, I think, was our manager. Yeah, Pat Ryan Senior, who was our manager. And like New York, have this New York Athletic Club is their base, which is it's on Fifth Avenue.
Oh wow.
And then the actual clubhouse itself is up around the Central Park, so you come out the door of the club and it's a Central Park. And then their grounds obviously was an American football pitch way out somewhere, it was a private golf club and with armed guards on the gate, like, so we traveled out there by bus and played the Golden Oldies. These are all American guys. And there was a guy in charge, Bill, he worked in AIB in Bray and then emigrated to New York and joined in this rugby club out there, the New York Athletic Club, Golden Oldies. They were celebrating 25 years of their club. 25 years, nobody knew anybody played rugby in New York. But we stayed in the Athletic Club, which is a 5-story building, and the first floor is the reception, the second floor is accommodation, third floor is a running track, and the running track is where Eamon Coughlin and them sort of people trained when they were over there, and then the 4th and 5th floor were gymnasium, and then the rooftop bar type thing. It was just incredible.
Coaching element of your career came a bit later, and that was when you were you're coaching myself and John at
Yeah.
underage down there. Must be pretty nice to have seen John and Davey come all the way through from underage minis right the way through to playing for the firsts.
You know, I suppose seeing your own kids coming through is something I mean, obviously, I would. Somebody had said to me one time, if you had started playing rugby when you were younger, you probably would have been a very good rugby player. Like, you know? So I suppose I was living like most dads, living my career through, guys. You know, but players like you, I mean, to see you coming through, you know, and other players who are coached and playing, you know, it's absolutely. I mean, the boys is great because I'm with them all the time, and I'm sure they, like, I know, you know, they get to a stage where they stop listening to me, you know, and they know more than I do, you know, and you sort of, you have to realize that, you know, that when your kid, he's coaching them, it's fine, you know, and you're teaching them, but when he gets to a certain age, you have to sort of say, okay, he has to make his own decisions now, you know. So the two guys, I mean, both played 18s and 19s Leinster, and John played 20s Leinster, and then John got 2 caps for the Irish 19s. Went to London and made a career for himself over there and was getting well paid for playing rugby, you know. Davey did the same, except he went over to England very early as well, you know, and played in Greystones. But the two of them played first in Greystones, which was a big thing for me, you know, when they both started for Greystones.
Yeah, no, it's someone else you would have seen from a 6-year-old kid right the way through to Heineken Cup medal is Jason Harris Wright.
He owes me money. He owes me money because I fed that child. I fed that child for 20 years. I mean, he's just the guy who would just eat, like, you know. Well, anyway, great guy. Yeah, good lad, and great parents. But he spent a lot of time here. Himself and John were very close, you know, and he used to be here more than he was at home, you know. But
could you spot that he was going to go far from a young age?
Do you know, it's funny, Jeremy. He was another one where Jason was getting sent off at 7, you know, for bullying and pushing and punching, and I don't know how many times I had to go in and speak for him, you know, and say, look, we need to keep him in the club because he's good at under 10s, you know. he's winning stuff for his under 10s. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, you know, under 10s, you see a guy who's bigger than everybody else and faster than everybody else, and you sort of say, yeah, he's got something, all right, you know. Now, John would be playing with him, but they were total opposites then, as he said, I think, and then they're total opposites again now because John went the academic route, you know, once he finished playing rugby, I suppose, and Jay went the professional route, you know, but he's got away with murder. Really has. I mean, he worked really hard at being getting where he is. There's no doubt about it, and had a great career. You know, great career in rugby. But yeah, you would spot kids like that, like, you know, I'm growing up and say, yeah, I think he's different. He's good, you know, and yeah, it was good.
I have to give him a shout out for coming on the podcast. I don't think anyone had talked to him from the club in maybe 10 years, and I asked him there about a year ago if he'd mind coming on. Yeah, straight away, yep, 100%, I'll do it. Like, so, you added legitimacy to it. That's very appreciative of. So, thanks, Jay, if you're watching.
I mean, yeah. Well, you know, as I say, he made a great career for himself, and the Heineken Cup medal, as I said, was the big thing, you know, and seeing him getting that, like, it was just. Of course, I took responsibility for it. You know, obviously, I coached him. He wouldn't have got it only for me, you know. But
we're nearly at the home stretch, Pat. So I'm gonna ask you for your favorite Greystones memory.
You know, I suppose I don't know whether I should say this now or not, but I mean, I think one of my best memories ever was to see you coming and playing again.
Oh,
after you got out of the hospital, yeah, and that for me was a big thing, Jeremy. And I never actually said to you, but when you were in hospital and when you were very young, and then you came back and you were playing again for us, like, I mean, I thought that was huge for me, you know. So
yeah, well, you know what, a little bit on that, like, the rugby club was so good to me, and now this isn't my episode, this is your episode, but I
know that. Yeah,
there's people in the club that had as big a part to play in me getting better as the medicine did. Yeah. You know, and I look at guys like Reggie or Whizzer, Donald Gannon, Vincent Byrne, Willie Byrne. They're real heroes, and you're one of them because you came in and visited me in the hospital. I remember you gave me a Rugby World magazine, Jeremy Guskin on the front cover, and and John, thank you very much. You gave me your Game Boy.
He wants it back.
Yeah,
he wants it back. Yeah.
But
like, I mean,
again, that speaks to the club and the culture of the club, and it is a big reason why I'm so obsessed with the place. Is because of the people in it that put their hand out to make me better. So you're
look, there's Peter Doyle. I mean, Peter Doyle is an absolute legend down there, and his son Ross. But there's guys, Joe Devine, all those presidents like Donald Sullivan, Eric Archer, all those guys who brought the club together initially, like, and people like that you're talking about. But there's big moments in the club, and that would be one for me, I think. And I hope that you keep playing. I hope you come back.
Yeah, well, watch out, J4s.
I'm looking for golden shorts, for the over 60s now, where they can't tackle you,
Well, we'll finish up on the last question, Pat. The best player you played with Greystones Rugby Club?
I was thinking about this, and I have played with some absolute legends, really, guys who are just outstanding. But when I came down here first, I started playing soccer down in Greystones, and Greystones United down Darcy's Field, what it was then. And one day they said they had a guest player coming in because we were allowed a guest player for some cup game, and this guy walked in anyway, and they go, "Oh, that's Paul McNaughton." And I said, "Yeah, who's Paul McNaughton?" Because I know rugby ahead of that stage, but and I played soccer with Paul McNaughton, and I've never seen a guy. I mean, he was soccer. He was unbelievable, and we won the game anyway. But the reason I say that is a couple of years later, I was in the dressing room J5 Cup, and somebody came in, and I got to play in the cup, because there was nobody else available. But there were no real rugby players available, so they bribed me instead. But anyway, they said the guest player, and Paul McNaughton came in to play J4 with us in a cup game, and of course we had a big hug, and I said, "How Paul, how's it going?" Because everybody thought I was international then, because I knew Paul McNaughton. But I played with him at soccer, and I played with him at rugby, and I have to say he's probably the best player I've ever played with. But other than my two lads, when I played with them, that was good.
We'll leave it there, Pat. Thanks so much for coming on. Absolutely fantastic catching up with you. And you know where to catch you. It's up in the top embankment of every senior game in your spot. So
I'll be there.
You're very good. Thanks a million for this. I loved it. Absolutely.
You mind yourself, and thanks very much, Jeremy.
Great stuff. See you, Pat. Good luck.